Here are the top stories for today, November 24, 2020. President Duterte is set to provide the Ombudsman a copy of the list of alleged corrupt lawmakers. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar assures that the government will continue to uphold transparency across all branches of government. The Department of Labor and Employment reminds private companies that they have a legal and moral duty to protect their workers. And 2 Filipino fighters will take center stage in the first of 2 offerings of one championship. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Members of the House of Representatives who allegedly received kickbacks from project contractors would be referred to the Office of the Ombudsman. President Rodrigo Duterte said he has a list of lawmakers who were allegedly involved in corruption in projects in the Department of Public Works and Highways. The president said the list was given to him by Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission Commissioner Greco Belhica. However, he refused to investigate and name the said lawmakers, saying he has no jurisdiction over members of a co-equal branch of government. Last month, Belhica disclosed that some SOLONS were under probe for allegedly conspiring with DPWH officials and contractors to commit graft.
Ganito, AMPAC, I think communicated to me that they have already the list of congressmen who are into the business of asking commissions from the contractors. And lumabas doon na ang namimili ng mga contractors para sa kanilang project ng mga congressman. At doon sila kumukuha. Name them publicly. Wala akong sabihin ko na, hindi sabihin ko na hindi natatakot o may kinukuberan ako na congressman. Wala. I will ask the Secretary of Justice to review it. He will pass it on to the Ombudsman.
As the Health Department reports a significant decrease in the number of COVID-19 cases in the country, President Rodrigo Duterte is still urging the public to obey health protocols and stay at home to totally eradicate the virus. Measures are also in place to prevent a post-Christmas holiday surge of the disease. The country's COVID-19 recovery rate stands at 92%.
You don't know by now that the Luzon, the island of Luzon has been placed under a state of calamity. And in Davao City, we have reverted back to general community quarantine after an increase of COVID-19 cases. Importante talaga ito. We have to interdict whatever there is para minus-minus yung tao na we can have a lesser cases of COVID if we just follow, and then there's a prompt medical attention given to those who are affected with COVID. So, mga kababayan, ganito yan. Ulitin ko, importante is that you wear mask, then washing of the hands, tapos social distancing. Kung maaari lang, huwag ka na lang lumapit. Hindi na uso ngayon. Na lumapit ka pa.
Rin ang DOH ng contingency plan upang handa po tayo kung sakaling magkaroon po tayo na tinatawag natin post-holiday season surge in the number of cases.
Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez identified possible sources of fund for COVID-19 vaccine in the country. He said the Department of Finance is targeting multilateral agencies such as World Bank and Asian Development Bank to raise 40 billion pesos. Domestic sources like Land Bank of the Philippines, Development Bank of the Philippines, and possibly government-owned and controlled corporations or GOCCs could contribute 20 billion pesos. The department will also negotiate 13.2 billion pesos from bilateral sources, depending on the source of vaccine. The government has to raise 73.2 billion pesos to purchase potential COVID-19 vaccines for at least 60 million Filipinos. Meanwhile, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said the country may achieve herd immunity if 60 to 70% of the population are vaccinated.
73.2 billion pesos is good for 60 million people to be vaccinated. Around 60 million people. So that is more or less what we have in line. Ngayon, we'll have to consult with the DOH if 60 million is enough. If 60 million people is enough to be vaccinated.
Ang herd immunity po, Mr. President, is anywhere from 60 to 70%, according to the World Health Organization. So if we're able to reach that, we're going to pretty much arrest the spread of this. And mawawala yung COVID-19 sa ating pong lipunan.
Can we have a herd immunity there?
We will have a herd immunity. That's our goal. Mga 60 to 70% po.
So basically, 60 million is okay. And we have the funds for that.
Malacanang assures there are enough healthcare workers in the country despite the lifting of the ban allowing them to work overseas. According to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, the president agreed to lift the deployment ban as the country has successfully slowed down the spread of COVID-19. He said the Interagency Task Force for Emerging Infectious Diseases, the Department of Labor and Employment, as well as the Health Department, assure the president that there is still enough healthcare professionals in the country.
Ang pagtanggal ng ban sa deployment ng health workers ay sang-ayon sa pulisya ng pamahalaan na magkaroon ng full employment, itaas ang standard of living at pagandahin ang quality of life ng lahat. Sa pag-alis ng ban, maaari nang mag-practice ang healthcare workers ang kanilang profesyon habang napapabuti nila ang buhay ng kanilang pamilya at nakakatulong sa ating lokal na ekonomiya. Pero limitado nga po ito, 5,000. Ngayon lang po, no, at 5,000, pero po pwede naman pong pataasin ang number niyan in due course.
President Rodrigo Duterte welcomed the decision of Saudi Arabia to remove key restrictions tying migrant workers to their employers. Saudi Arabia earlier launched the Labor Reform Initiative, or LRI, to benefit around a third of Saudi Arabia's total population, or approximately 10 million foreign workers in the kingdom. Under the LRI, foreign workers will be allowed to transfer to another employer without the current employer's consent upon the expiration of their contract. It will also allow foreign workers to travel outside the kingdom without their employer's approval and allow them to leave the kingdom without their employer's consent upon contract expiration. The LRI will take effect on March 14, 2021. President Duterte described the initiative as a major labor reform program that will benefit migrant workers, including almost 800,000 Filipinos. He congratulated His Majesty King Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud for the landmark initiative and renewed his commitment to continue working closely with His Majesty the King to further strengthen cooperation in fields of mutual interest, including the promotion of the rights and welfare of Filipinos in the kingdom. President Duterte is looking forward to the end of his 6-year term in June 2022 so that he could return to his hometown, Davao City. This as Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo floated anew the idea of a Duterte-Duterte tandem in the 2022 elections. Panelo said President Duterte could take on the vice presidency while his daughter and Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio could run for president.
Ang pagkakaalam ko po, at si Presidente matapos ang kanyang termino at gusto na niyang umuwi dito sa Davao. No? So yung Duterte tandem po na sinasabi ni Secretary Panelo, iyan po ay kanyang personal na opinion.
Version 1. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar assures that the government will continue to uphold transparency by institutionalizing the FOI across all branches of government. The details from Gigi Arcilia Agtay.
The Presidential Communications Operations Office, or PCOO, continues to advocate open governance as it maintains its support for the passage of the FOI bill. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar urges more local government units to issue their own ordinances outlining the value of transparency in public governance. He said access to relevant and accurate information is a basic right that should be readily available anytime. As the PCOO marks the 4th year of conducting the 2-day Freedom of Information Summit, Andanar said transparency, accountability, and citizen participation are the cornerstones of a healthy democracy. The summit was held virtually in compliance with safety guidelines against the spread of COVID-19. Meanwhile, the PCOO received new communications equipment from private consortium Megawide. Andanar led the ceremonial signing and turnover of donations of equipment such as satellite phones, portable radios, and generator sets that will be utilized for the Laging Handa program. Andanar expressed gratitude for the support of the Megawide Foundation in highlighting the importance of information in times of emergencies. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Gigi Arcilia Agtay.
Still to come, the Department of Health is set to release the guidelines on COVID-19 test price cap. And the Labor Department is looking into the welfare of the workers involved in the Skyway incident. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The guidelines for the implementation of a price cap for COVID-19 testing and test kits will be released within the week. President Duterte earlier signed an Executive Order 118 placing a price cap on reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction or RT-PCR testing and test kits for COVID-19 to ensure that low and middle income households can afford it. Currently, the cost for the gold standard test ranges from 3,500 pesos to as high as 8,150 pesos. However, several hospitals and health facilities offer affordable tests that cost 1,750 to 2,000 pesos. Roque said the palace has repeatedly appealed to the hospitals and health facilities not to take advantage of the demand for RT-PCR test kits. In Lanao del Sur, the detection of COVID-19 cases will be upgraded and fast-tracked now that the biomolecular testing laboratory opens in Amay Pakpak Medical Center or APMC. The 27 million peso worth laboratory was the product of the collaborative efforts of APMC, local government units of Marawi City, Lanao del Sur, and the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Equipped with polymerase chain reaction machines, the laboratory can simultaneously process 96 swab samples in 1.5 hours. The results will then come out after 24 to 48 hours.
Mas mapadali ho natin yung pag-screen natin o pag-test natin doon sa mga posibleng carrier ng COVID-19 virus. So yan po ay napakalaking tulong dito sa atin sa Marawi City at Lanao del Sur. In fact, bumabaho ang ating mga active cases dito sa Marawi City from more than 100. Naging kahapon po, as of yesterday, ay 8 lang po ang ating active cases. But
the Department of Labor and Employment reminds private companies that they have a legal and moral duty to protect their workers. This comes after the Skyway incident last Saturday left one motorist dead and injured several others in Muntinlupa City.
Ang ating pong informasyon na natanggap ay project ng isang legal corporation at ang kanilang traktor at EEI. Tingin natin, hindi lang sa DOLE sila mananagot dahil meron po tayong batas sa protection ng ating manggagawa, but also na-compromise po ang ating public safety, wherein nakikita po natin sa ating video that there was no crowd control during the actual operation ng ating train. Sana, lagi po natin tandaan, ang nakasalalay dito ay buhay ng mga ating mga manggagawa. Hindi lang po tayo na-comply sa legal requirements, but also our moral duty to protect our workers as provided by our law.
Some 28 ETA communities in Buhi, Camarines Sur received over 1,000 relief packs from Navy personnel and several donors during a relief distribution program on Monday. These typhoon-affected communities consist of more than 4,000 ETAs. Aside from food packs, the beneficiaries also received towels, hygiene kits, and mega-laminated sack tarpaulins to be used in their temporary shelters. The chieftains and other leaders were also given face shields and Navy face masks. The Dios Mabalos Foundation Incorporated, one of the Navy's partners, said they are helping indigenous people who might be left out by various aid groups. The Civil Military Operations Unit Southern Luzon, meanwhile, said that they can assure that those affected by the recent typhoons will be given relief goods. A former Anakbayan member turned New People's Army rebel has surrendered to the Municipal Task Force to end local communist armed conflict of Tigbao, Zamboanga del Sur. Tigbao Mayor Eliazar Carcallas identified the surrenderer as Jesse Pularan of the main regional guerrilla unit of the NPA's Western Mindanao Regional Party Committee. Pularan was first recruited as a member of Anakbayan, then as a member of Kabataang Makabayan before joining the NPA in August 2010. The former rebel also revealed that 5 Anakbayan members are still with the NPA when he left. Lieutenant Colonel Joe R. Herrera, commander of the 53rd Infantry Battalion, said Pularan's surrender is proof that the NPA unit is on the brink of collapse. Brigadier General Lionel Nicolas, commander of the 102nd Infantry Brigade, vowed that all operations against the NPA remnants would continue until sustainable peace is achieved in Zamboanga Peninsula. The volume of passengers and cargo moving in and out of Panay and Negros has been steadily increasing amid the improving COVID-19 situation in Western Visayas. Frank Carbon, Chief Executive Officer of the Metro Bacolod Chamber of Commerce and Industry, said the region's economy is on a roll with the creation of more jobs and improvement of travel. Daily fast-craft trips between cities of Bacolod and Iloilo have resumed since October 31st. Carbon also cited the launch of the Starlight Venus Ro-Ro vessel directly connecting the ports of Bacolod and Iloilo to Batangas International Seaport. Other endeavors are the increase in production of white shrimps or vaname for the hotels and restaurants in Metro Manila, and the reopening of tourism sites such as the Magic Land, the first outdoor theme park in Visayas. Carbon urged businesses to reopen their establishments, reinvest, and start generating more jobs and livelihood. The Department of Trade and Industry in Central Luzon reminds sellers of basic necessities of the price freeze due to the onslaught of Typhoon Ulysses. Under Proclamation 1051, the state of calamity issued by President Rodrigo Duterte will remain in effect for 60 days unless revoked. DTI Regional Director Judith Angeles said that concerned citizens can call the consumer hotline of DTI to report any violation of the Price Act. Angeles said the DTI is regularly monitoring the prices of basic necessities and prime commodities to be able to document the prevailing prices and determine whether there is illegal price manipulation. Penalties for illegal price manipulation such as hoarding, profiteering, and cartel range from 5,000 pesos to 2 million pesos. Up next, the Negros Press Club commemorated the 11th year of the Maguindanao Massacre. And 2 Filipino fighters will take center stage in the first of 2 offerings of one championship. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The Indonesian Navy will move the headquarters of its combat squad near the border of the South China Sea. Chief of Naval Staff Admiral Yudo Margono said the Guspurla Command Fleet 1, which is currently deployed in the capital of Jakarta, will be permanently transferred to Natuna Islands. The force is in charge of conducting marine combat and amphibious operations to enforce law and uphold sovereignty in territorial sea. The deployment came following escalating tension in the South China Sea and in the region. Apart from the Natuna region, Margono said the Indonesian Navy is also anticipating vulnerabilities at the sea borders, including Malacca Strait, Ambalat Block, and Pacific Ocean. In 2019 to 2020, there have been several escalations between Indonesia and China over violations of territory by a Chinese Coast Guard in disputed waters around the islands claimed by Jakarta. The Negros Press Club lighted 58 candles to mark the 11th year of the Maguindanao Massacre on Monday. Local journalists lighted 58 candles symbolizing the number of lives, including 32 of their fellow media workers, which were lost during the gruesome murders. Immediate past President Chris C. Samiliano led the wreath-laying and candle-lighting rites at the marker of the fallen journalists at the Bacolod Public Plaza. This year's commemoration is the first since the brains behind the massacre were convicted in court on December 19, 2019. In a statement, the NPC, headed by President Glazil Masculino, said the group remembers the gruesome murders as one of the darkest moments in the history of Philippine media. The NPC also called for continued vigilance to protect press freedom after justice has been served to the victims and their families. The Enhanced Nutribun or e-Nutribun is now on sale in markets in northern Mindanao. The Department of Science and Technology in Region 10 led the launching of the e-Nutribun in Cagayan de Oro City on Monday. The e-Nutribun is a revival of the Nutribun variety of bread from the 1970s, reformulated by the DOST's Food and Nutrition Research Institute program. For Region 10, at least 6 food makers were chosen to be trained in making the new bread product. Engineer Rosemary Garcia, DOST FNRI's Chief Science Research Specialist, said that the current serving standard of the bread can still be altered with different varieties. For Region 10, one option is to use locally produced corn. In sports, 2 Filipino fighters seeking a title shot will take center stage in the first of the 2 offerings of one championship next month. Flyweight contender Danny Kingad and women's atomweight prospect Jo Marie Torres will take on tough opponents at one Big Bang set on December 4 at the Singapore Indoor Stadium. Kingad will face former one champ Kazakh Kairat Akhmetov in a potential title eliminator. Torres, the top-ranked women's atomweight fighter, will battle Indian prospect Ritu Phogat. The main event of one Big Bang will see Ukrainian pugilist Roman Kriklia stake his kickboxing light heavyweight title against Turkish-Dutch challenger Murat Aygun. The co-main event will feature third-ranked Koyomi Matsushima of Japan against fifth-ranked Gary Tonon of the United States. The Department of Tourism, or DOT, is promoting cultural tourism in Baguio City as it supports initiatives such as the BAGUIO Festival. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat said the DOT would continue to promote Baguio as a creative city and support its development for arts and culture. The move comes as the UNESCO Creative City celebrates Baguio 2020, a month-long creative festival. Puyat visited Baguio to see Baguio 2020's highlights, such as its lineup of creative crawls and series of tours that showcase Baguio's artistic and cultural heritage sites. The DOT's support of Baguio's rich cultural heritage and craftsmanship could help support the livelihood of locals and help the city recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Those who wish to go to Baguio after Baguio 2020 can still experience the creative crawl through accredited tour operators. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. President Duterte is set to provide the Ombudsman a copy of the list of alleged corrupt lawmakers. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar assures that the government will continue to uphold transparency across all branches of government. The Department of Labor and Employment reminds private companies that they have a legal and moral duty to protect their workers. And 2 Filipino fighters will take center stage in the first of 2 offerings of one championship. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And it's 31 days to go before Christmas, and that's exactly 1 month. And we know that this pandemic has done a lot to you, but I guess that should not really curtail us from understanding and celebrating the true meaning of life and the value of the people who we love, and of course, to value our health. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I'm William Theo. Good day and stay safe, everyone.